Our Global IT Solution GITS Postman channel on lecture 5. Before you started this lecture, I highly encourage you to complete previous lecture related with this course. Let's get started and jump on the topics. So today we'll be discussing about Postman CLI command preview with GitHub Actions. So basically how to connect or how to execute your Postman collection using the GitHub Action. The second one will be the same thing. The Postman collection will be exporting and will be executing with the Newman CLI, which is command line interface with GitHub Actions. The first one will be directly directly execute Postman collection from Postman with the GitHub Action. The second one will be executing the Postman collection with the Newman CLI and with GitHub Action and creating a report. The third one, generate Newman HTML report through the GitHub Actions. So on both Newman CLI with GitHub Actions and the Postman CLI command preview with the GitHub Actions. So let's dive into it. As you know, we've been working and building the collection learning RESTful service. So this is the RESTful service. Also we can import and send a request and get a response with the SOAP service. It's pretty easy for the SOAP. SOAP you can just import OSDOL file over here as a link. So every SOAP service has a OSDOL link. That OSDOL link will be just imported over here with the click button. That's all. So this is the, as you know, this is the RESTful service, list of users and the create users, right? Now we'll be exporting as a collection. The first one will be seeing the Postman CLI command preview with GitHub Actions and generating report. Let's export our collection. B2 export, then let's save into the desktop. So we'll be saved without Postman collection, with only the RESTful learning RESTful service.json on the desktop. Okay, we saved it on the desktop. As you see, this is our Postman collection. Now we'll create a folder repository called postman-newman. So let's create a new repository. Let's go to the actual GitHub, then create a new repository called postman-newman. Okay, so this is going to be a public, and we'll be adding the readme.md file, create a repository, then we'll clone the repository into our desktop. And let's go ahead, clone it with our terminal. So before we clone, let me see where am I. So cd into desktop will be going to desktop, git clone. We're cloning on the desktop, right? The postman-newman folder. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what is the folder. Postman-newman. Postman-newman. So this is our folder, Postman-newman. So inside the Postman-newman will be moved our learning RESTful service. Okay, so Postman-newman, inside we have a readme.md file. We do have learning RESTful service, right? And we'll be creating over here as a new folder called .github, and inside the .github we'll be creating a folder called workflow. So workflows. So that workflows will go inside GitHub workflows. Inside the workflows, we'll create another file. Will be create a file called. Let's move this folder in our Visual Studio Code. So how do we move? We can drag and drop, right? We can drag and drop the folder. Okay. All right. So as you see, it's I already have the postman-newman, right? Then inside the postman-newman, I have the .github folder, and I have learning response service.json and readme.md file. Okay, that's good, right? Now let's go back here inside postman-newman. I just want to make sure everything is well synced, right? So I'll be deleting everything from here. I'll be just moving that this file. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see where is my file. This file is supposed to be inside the YouTube and collection, and we have postman-newman. So this postman, inside the postman-newman, whatever the file we have, will be moving. Okay. So now inside our postman-newman, which is we clone from the GitHub, we have learning service. We have .github. We have .git, and also the report of the Newman, right? We just executed yesterday on the previous lecture. Now let's move this project into our Visual Studio Code. Let's close the Visual Studio Code, open the Visual Studio Code again. This one will be open up a new Visual Studio Code and move that folder. Trust it. Yes. Now inside the Visual Studio Code, we'll create a two pipeline, right? One of them which is the Postman CLI command preview, GitHub Action new, and another one's Newman CLI with GitHub Action. So let's go ahead and create inside the GitHub, then .workflow, and then on that workflow we'll be creating a two file. One of them with the Postman CLI command preview. So this is the Postman CLI command preview. Inside this Postman CLI command preview, we'll be adding the .yml file, which is instruction for GitHub Actions, deploying our Postman collection and executing that from the Postman in GitHub Action and generating report. How do we do that? So in Postman, once you go to the collection on 3 dot, if you click on select run selector, then on the right hand side you will be seeing over here, it's called a automate run by a CI. Automate runs via CLI. So in the underneath, run on CICD. Then click on the configure commands, then select CICD configuration as a Postman, as a GitHub Actions. Then just copy the code from here. And also you see that over here is a Postman API key. You have to generate your Postman API key by clicking on generate API key. So you have to replace the API key with the secret.postman API key. So copy that code and come back to the here Postman CLI command preview, right, and paste it over here and replace with your API key. That's all you need. This is the number one. So number two, Newman CLI with GitHub. So Newman CLI with GitHub, this one, we're just creating a report with the Newman CLI. If you go to the Google with the Newman GitHub Actions, right? Newman GitHub Actions, you'll be able to see in the internet, there is a on the marketplace, there is a Newman Actions. From the Newman Action, you can just copy the code, example workflow code, and paste it there and change your collection name and the API secret key. That's all you need. Now if you're going back over here, you see I replace the API key and my learning RESTful service and the environment, which is over here. This is the environment, you can keep it. That's fine. Environment, right? Now everything we have. Also, I generated report, another one with the CLI command. So this is the CLI command. So you see that we have to install the Node.js, then create a directory for the test results, install Node.js, create a directory for test results, then install Newman and install reporter, right? Then we run the test with the Newman run and the file and the report. Then we put them output into the directory, which is the test result. Then from the marketplace, we are calling the HTML reporter and calling the history of the report and deploying the report in a GitHub page. So this is all you need. Now let's go ahead and push our code, right? New terminal. Let's get git status. Let's see. Yeah, git add, git commit -m postman with Newman CLI. Git push. Let's go ahead and see it. So we push our code inside the GitHub. Now let's go back and refresh it here. Our new repository, and go to the action. You see we have everything. Also I put them as an instruction on the readme.md file. You'll find. So on that actions, we have three of them. So one of them is a postman with a Newman CLI, postman with Newman CLI. So we push our code with the three CICD pipeline, right? Three GitHub workflow, action workflow. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. Let's see. Postman with Newman CLI, extra HTML report, it's failing. We'll troubleshoot in a later video, but for now, let's see why it's failing. This is failing. Let's rerun this job, only fail job. Let's see. I'm just rerunning it and making sure we can see it where it is failing. Downloading. Okay, that's good. Run actions, create directory. Okay, install Node.js, install Newman. It's good. Running our test. Next part is running our test. Okay, so far looks good. Then it is failing over here, right? Run our test. Okay, so we'll find out why it's failing. But the other two of them, which is the postman API test, which is those all are passing, right? Run API test, everything you see, everything is passed. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this lecture. Stay tuned for upcoming lecture for rest of the course and for the debugging session. Thank you.